Alright everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today I wanted to give a response to a comment exchange here because I wanted to actually give my point or like my side to kind of respond to this. This was a comment on the commenter videos. It's kind of like it's like another commentary video talking about a comment. So I wanted to kind of like clarify a couple points. Yeah, I just want to see, like, let me know what you guys think in the comment section of what you think of this topic. But I did want to make a dedicated video talking about Deja Vu on its own and kind of just discuss how it could be improved or just be a little bit better than for where it's at now. But anyway, so we're gonna read the comment here. It says, yes, Deja Vu has a prerequisite. The prerequisite is going to those 3 specific gens. That's literally what it says. So to clarify this point, because already like that in itself is not really the strongest prerequisite. Like what I want to clarify, because like on the surface it's like, what are you talking about? But when you really think about it, it's like, yeah, no, that makes sense. The prerequisite is do those gens, fine. But Deja Vu in itself is insane. Okay, like it prevents like low tiers from having 3 gens. It's giving 6% free repair speed, which can be stacked on top with other repair speed bonuses. And then you can also work on the same gen with another survivor, which gains you even more, like more of a bonus. Gens already on base kit are very fast, so we really don't necessarily need more of that, you know. And that's sort of my point when I'm talking about this topic, is that we don't really want more. We don't want more gen speed. We want less. You know what I'm saying? Like the gens already base kit move quick. Like we want to slow it down. That's the idea. And I do think that if you're gonna have a 6% bonus, there should be a decrease in speed to something else. Maybe like 6% if you work with, I don't even know actually, but I would say maybe 6% repair speed, but 6% decreased healing speed or something. You know what I mean? Like just to kind of give you, you know, like a little bit more, because like when you already have a 6% bonus, you can still heal people just as fast. You can still repair gens even faster. Like, you know, at least give it something to kind of give you a negative, you know what I mean? Just to give you something, you know? So he says that it shows the 3 gens is closest proximity to each other, which, yeah, which is what makes it so strong. Like 3 genning is like one of the most important strategies to incorporate when it comes to going against, like, especially low tier killers. Not having a 3 gen with a low tier and you're like against the ropes and you really have nothing you could do, like 3 gen might be the only thing you have left, and then that is not even there, so you basically just lose the game, you know what I mean? So it takes away your option of trying to make a comeback, and that's what my issue with the perk is that it not only it prevents 3 gens, when that is one of the most like vital strategies when you're playing a low tier killer, but also it has a gen speed bonus as well. So, you know, taking that into account, gens are already base kit very, very fast. People tend to do them together as well. And that in itself is what makes it so strong. And that's why, like, that's such like a point of discussion. It makes it, it's very strong for what little it looks like it does. He says, if you want that 6% bonus, which isn't much, by the way, which, no, it may not be much on its own, but throw on Proof Thyself, throw on a toolbox, Commodious, with a charge add-on to raise it up to 42 charges. Or 44, I believe. That's 44% of the gen in a toolbox. Put on Built to Last. That's another bonus. You get an additional 6% on top of the 50% from the toolbox. You're getting like 56%. Maybe throw on another one, like another 12. Like what is it? Like the 20% from an add-on. That's like 26% added on top. Like, these things together are what I'm talking about. We need to be able to prevent this thing. Like, what I would say is remove the stacking bonus. Like, remove it so that you can't stack them. That would make sense. So that it only applies to yourself. And maybe that will make it a little bit more balanced. Because it's not... I don't think that it... Like, where it's at now is great. Like, it's meta for a reason. You know what I mean? And if we added something to it so that it actually gives them a give and a take, I think it would be more balanced, and it would actually make people want to like kind of think a little bit more about how they construct their builds instead of just slapping on whatever's meta, you know? He says you have to think about not 3-genning yourself, so in a lot of scenarios this is good for helping break that, but not always. Which, no, that's not true at all. The perk's design is literally to not 3-gen yourself. Like, You know what I mean? Like, you can't, like, it's you could remove the not always, because that's its intended purpose is to prevent 3 gens. And by the time you get to the last gen, you basically have a flat bonus to all 3 gens. Like, sometimes you're going for a bad gen just for the 6% bonus. That's not true at all. Breaking a 3 gen is one of the most important strategies that you're taking away. Like, that in itself is strong. And on top of that, it takes away some of that time it would take for people to try to find gens, because maybe sometimes people may not see them initially and they have to walk around the map. That in itself can provide a couple of seconds of slowdown, if not more. But they have aura now, so they can just see which gen to go to, and then they'll just continue to rush out that gen. So you're kind of in a situation where you're kind of screwed, you know, and it's unfortunate. So it says, whereas with Pop, you're almost always trying to down people, and assuming they're doing gens and not just standing there, you will have a gen to kick. 99% of perks have a prerequisite or downside to them. It's not exclusive to one side. So I don't think I claim that it was exclusive to one side. What I was saying is that the killer side has more difficult prerequisites to get their bonuses compared to the killer side, which, I mean, to the survivor side, where, like, you just kind of have your bonus just because you have your bonus, not because you actually did anything to give you anything. So I just wanted to make that clear, you know. So as I've said in probably in another video, getting the down with a low tier killer in itself is the downside, and in itself can be basically impossible to get value out of your perks. You know, judging by a map, judging by the gen speed and stuff like that, travel time, and the capability to even get the down in the first place can basically prevent you from being able to use your perks. And a lot of killers are going to struggle to get downs, especially the lower tiers, because they ultimately don't have any way to travel any faster. You know, obviously, if you consider the S tiers for every, you know, discussion, then of course it makes a killer look crazy. It makes it look like, wow, like, this is amazing, these perks are great, like, but not really, okay? Because not every single person is playing only S tiers. Like, I specifically just play M1s. Like, I'm not playing Nurse or Blight, so, like, I don't see, like, the massive bonuses that these give me. A lot of the time, I'm not even running them because I know it won't really work as well on a lower tier killer, because that time it would take to travel, I already know that the time that I get over there, the gen's done. So he goes, I only typed this as I watched you talk about Deja Vu, but after seeing you talk about Windows, Resi, and Finesse, I try to say that there's no downside when you literally say Resi only works when you're injured and still try to claim there's no downside. I mean, you could sit there and say that Resi doesn't have a downside, but I would argue that, you know, like I've said in another video potentially, if it's already up, like, resilience literally guarantees that you can dodge M1s. Like, I wouldn't say guarantees 100% of the time, but it gives you the option or the capability to dodge M1s, which means that you're with M1s, which, like Trapper, and Skull Merchant, Ghostface, whatever have you, they struggle as it is to get hits in the first place, to get downs in the first place. So if somebody's injured and then they have a vault speed bonus, they're essentially just getting out of there scot-free, no hit, they get away. And then you just wasted all your time, because if you don't down them in a certain amount of time, you're just going to lose the gen anyway. So that in itself is what we're talking about. And that's why I even add on Finesse too. Finesse allows you to just dodge M1s, and you're just, like, not able to, you know, get the hit sometimes. I've seen that happen when, like, depending on, like, obviously it's not always perfect, like Resi and Finesse can still get you hit, but a lot of times when you need that hit, it almost seems like it's every time, dude. Like, when you need that M1, it happens. Like, you really, like, they will just jump right over something, like a pallet or something, like a trash pallet. They'll finesse right out, and then you just don't even have your hit, and you're like, wow, like, nah, I gotta continue following them because they had lied or something, you know? And Windows in itself doesn't have a downside, by the way. Like, Windows is free aura reading, showing you every perk and, like, every palette and window, which means you could chain from palette to window, or palette to window to palette, like, depending on maps, which have plenty of palettes. It's gonna be tough. Like, they can keep going to the next one, and they can either pre-drop them, which you see a lot of, and that's why when Kaneki dropped, a lot of people were bitching about it, because Kaneki was able to basically say, you're not going to do that. Like, you're not going to go around and just pre-drop and keep running off for free. You know what I mean? Like, that killer and other S tiers allow you to prevent that option. And that is what made that killer so good, and that's what makes it so important. And this is the part that I'm like, you know, you have to, like, this is the type of stuff that people, like, lose their minds about. And they start trying to insult the person. It's like, bro, like, if you're trying to have a literal, like, an actual debate and change somebody's mind, you don't have to go, you're going around insulting them. It's not gonna do that, bro. You're just making it even, like, you're making yourself look bad. So, you know, already this is terrible. Like, do better, buddy. Do better, okay? Do better. So, somebody responded and he says, if the perk activated when you had to be winning, it would be more comparable to killer. Most killer perks only activate when the killer is doing well. Look at the gen regression perks. It's true. I do agree with Edward here. It's very true. If the perk activated when you had to be winning, because, like, mind you, like, you had, like, it's what I was talking about before. Like, if you aren't able to get your downs, you're just not getting any value. On the survivor side with, like, deja vu or resilience, finesse, you know, like, you know, whatever have you, like, perks like that, like, you don't necessarily need to complete a gen or heal anyone. Those perks are meta, and you don't need to actually do anything besides either go down within seconds and get on a hook, and then, you know, go down again, which we can try to bring up some examples. So let's use Decisive Strike as an example here. So for this perk to activate, you have to be unhooked or unhooking yourself. But how do you get on the hook, right? You go down, right? Now, mind you, so what, at least for me, like what I've seen with players, like, there's a lot of players I've seen that are not very strong in chase, but they have this equipped, and it artificially extends their life, right? Like, it artificially will extend out their time because they die in less than 40, 50, or 60 seconds. But you still get hit with the DS anyway, right? Another example we can use is also, which you see these combined, is Dead Hard, right? Dead Hard is another perk that activates after being unhooked or unhooking yourself. Whenever you're injured and running, it allows you to gain endurance for half a second, which honestly, it feels like longer, you know? So basically what people will do is they'll run Decisive, they'll run Off the Record, Made for This, and Dead Hard and stuff like that. And they'll have all that because they go down so quickly that they usually have to run that bonus, right? They usually need to have something for that. And what it ends up doing is just artificially extending chases. Like, Dead Hard specifically is a perk that I see used a lot because they can put themselves in a bad position that they decided to put themselves in because they don't have the awareness to realize, like, you know, my teammates are running through this area and wasting all my resources, or, oh, I'm running in a bad spot. But they'll activate Dead Hard and get away scot-free because they have a free endurance that they can pop. And stuff like that. And this perk overall, to me, is rewarding people that are losing, right? They're losing by being on the hook. Like, this perk obviously was much worse in the past, but even now it's still, like, incredibly difficult to deal with a lot of the time. And it's usually used by a lot of players that are just not very strong in chase. Now, I'm not saying all players that use this perk are bad at the game. But what I'm saying is, like, in my experience, when I've gone against players who are bad at the game, they tend to run it. I'm not saying it's the same thing, obviously. I'm saying that it is used by different varieties of players. There's also good players that can use second chance perks to extend their chases even more. But a lot of the time, when you do see second chances, in most cases, a lot of the time, they just weren't doing well in chase, and they had their second chance ready to go because of that fact. So, what Edward is trying to say here, what I'm trying to say here, is that when a killer is doing well, that's when you get your slowdown. If you down them, you get your slowdown. But with Survivor, it's like if you lose, you get your perk up, right? So here's another example of a perk I think that they did a fantastic change. Old Distortion was one of the was a ratty player's dream, right? Hiding aura, basically for doing nothing but hiding inside of the killer's tear radius or whatever have you. And they changed the perk now so that it says for every 30 seconds spent in a chase, distortion recharges for a maximum of 2 tokens. This right here was one of the best perk changes I've seen for Survivor, like, ever, honestly. Because it rewards people who were being chased, right? And then, mind you, aura reading is a chase focus sort of like perk combination, right? A lot of the time you'll see perks like Predator, right? You'll see perks like Zanshin Tactics. You'll see perks like the Z block on Freddy. Like you see perks like the outdoor security camera on Ghostface. And those perks, right? I'm like, well, not like really perks, but like those add-ons, for example, or perks are chase focused, right? Because you're like, okay, I just downed somebody with outdoor security camera on Ghostface. Now I'm going to turn around and look for somebody else to chase, right? Or say I'm using Z block with Freddy. I'm like landing my snares and I'm seeing their aura as I'm chasing them. So having a perk that counters it like this makes a lot of sense to me. I go, this is a great perk design because you're directly countering the auras of those more chase focused aura reading. And it actually rewards you for being in chase, for doing well. You're actually getting a reward. Like, this is a well-designed perk. This is a good change. This is what I would want more perks to be like, where you're actually rewarded for doing the right thing, which is buying time for your team in a way that doesn't reward you for doing badly. That, to me, is more rewarding and makes more sense, and it helps equalize the game to where both sides are being rewarded for playing well, not being rewarded for playing badly, which is the idea. So when we get back here, he says that he responded by saying all gen perks aside from ruin only activate when you either kick a gen, hook, or down. How else do you want the perks to work? So he starts like losing his mind and trying to he basically is like saying that everyone else is biased, like myself, Edward here is biased, but he himself is also biased. So like you already see that a lot. It happens a lot in these discussions. They tend to project onto everyone else instead of just looking inward and understanding that they are the person biased here. So shout out to Edward here because he says that Pop activates when you hook a survivor and kick a gen. Scourge hooks when you down and hook a survivor. So how does Deja Vu activate? Dead Hard, Decisive. They come free or they activate when the survivor does something bad and gets a second chance. As I've showed with this with Decisive Strike, the perk activates when you go down in less than a minute, right? And if it's at level 1 or 2, it's like less than that, right? So if you're getting it to activate within those time periods, like sometimes you even have to force the value out of it because most of the time people are not even tunneling you or they're going after their teammate, right? So for these perks to even be put into play, they either A, have to force the value, or B, they have to go down in seconds for it to even activate in the first place. And same thing with Dead Hard. It's like you get it activated by literally losing a chase. So you go down and then you get on a hook and boom, you get a free second chance. It's the same thing with also Off the Record. You get off hook, boom, 80 seconds of free endurance. Like that's not really that's like you already have 10 seconds, but apparently that's not enough, you know? But anyway. So he also mentions here that survivors don't have to snowball like killers do. Simply losing means survivors get the tools to come back. So you asked me how I want gen regression to activate. How about it's the same treatment as survivors? Lose a gen, next kick on a gen regresses it harder. I do agree that this would be nice. I would say that this is a good change if they wanted to do that, because if you have to kind of equalize it a little bit here, because at least in my perspective, because it seems like survivors are getting a lot of buffs and a lot of things. I'm not saying that they always do, because I know a lot of people are going to jump on that and try to say that that's what I mean. I don't. I'm saying that we're getting a lot of perks that were pretty much like fine as they were, you know, Resurgence especially. Fine perk, didn't need a buff, you know, that got buffed. Or like the Yoichi perk that showed you the aura and gave you a healing bonus, that got buffed too. It's like a lot of perks that just were fine as they were. I mean, at least from my perspective, but still got buffed anyway. Vigil, you know, stuff like that. They were fine. They were fine where they were, but they buffed them anyway. And I'm like, okay, but like, what about killer perks? Like, can we get more of those? And it's like, no, you just get just 2 haste perks buffed. And I'm like, right, like, where's the rest? You know? But anyway, I like this idea. Lose a gen, next kick gen regresses it harder. I like that. So basically, if you go from 5% to like 10%, or maybe 10% to 15%, and you get like, you know, regression, stuff like that, that would be cool. Because then it gives like a comeback mechanic for the killer side, which a lot of Survivor have comeback mechanics too. Like they have DS, they have off the record and stuff like that. It gives them, you know, those chances, you know. So he says Deja Vu activates when you get on one of the highlighted gens, which is the problem, by the way. Like as I've mentioned before, Deja Vu is already too strong as it is, and I think that it should be adjusted a little bit, like maybe change the stacking of it so it's only just 6% and not stacking with Proof Thyself on your teammate. You know what I mean? Because if you have 2 people running it, like running the same 2 perks, you're getting a massive bonus, and it's like you don't really need all that. Like you don't have to have that. The game already moves quick as it is. You don't need more of it, you know? At least in my opinion. I feel like that would make it a lot more interesting, but because I think that people find chases more fun, I would say, and you always see that a lot too, that these survivors are constantly like, oh, why are they chasing? It's like because the gens are zooming. Like we can't chase anybody if we're worrying about a gen flying. But anyway, so he says that heart can only be activated after unhook and still injured. You need to time it just right, which is not important at all. Like it doesn't matter if you need to time it right or not. It's not that hard to do it. Especially with like server like lag and stuff like that. There's been times where you could wait it out, swing, and it's still counted as an endurance. It happens, you know, the servers are not perfect, so. And then he says, and DS only activates after you're unhooked, doesn't work in endgame, only lasts 60 seconds, is a skill check and makes you the obsession. And says which this whole point that he's saying is terrible. Like none of these things apply. You being the obsession makes no difference. Being the obsession does nothing for you. Like it doesn't even matter if you are the obsession or not as a survivor, unless the killer's running play with your food or something, or a rancor. Being the obsession is irrelevant. It doesn't apply to most builds. Okay, so that's already a non-point. Secondly, he says that it's a skill check, which everybody can land that. It's not like it's the fastest skill check in the world. Like it's not like you're running a what is that thing? Like what is that skill check like with the perk on killer? Yo, I don't even use it. I forgot. Oh my god, it's not the stressing. It's the oh my god, what is it? Oh, it's not an unnerving presence, right? Hold on. So here's how we can make Decisive Strike a little bit better. Make it like an unnerving presence skill check. That would be cool, right? You know what I mean? That would make sense. So anyway, unnerving presence would be perfect for this. And that would be, actually, that's a pretty good idea. I'm not gonna lie, like I'm kind of cooking with that. But anyway, I'm trolling a little bit. It's okay. But anyway, he's saying it like the skill check you have to hit as if that's like the hardest thing in the world. Like people can, you hit skill checks on gens all the time. How is a Decisive Strike skill check gonna make like be so different? Like what are you talking about, bro? That's a non-point. He said it only lasts 60 seconds, but like the people using this perk are getting downed in less than 60 seconds. So what are you talking about? It's giving you a bonus for that. Like, what are you talking about, bro? And then it only activates after you're unhooked. And it's like, it keeps adding this only as if that's like minimizing the strength of it. Like, no, it's still strong. Like, what are you talking about? And I'm glad it doesn't work in endgame because it used to work in endgame. So he says, yo, shout out to Edward once again. He says, my point is that survivors are given these perks either for free or after they started losing. Did you not read my comment? You just said DS only activates when you're unhooked. I literally wrote that in the response. That's the entire point. Exactly. I'm glad he said that. He goes, it's a skill check you have to hit, which is literally what you just do. Like, you do that normally when you just play the game. Like, you always are hitting skill checks on Survivor's side. So I don't know what he's talking about. Like, this other guy, I don't know what he's talking about, bro. So once again, like, you know, which if you're able to read down there, he's just once again just like losing his mind, being extremely biased toward his favorite side, which is obviously the survivor. And I mean, it's obviously a survivor made molding, which we understand that. We get it. You know what I mean? I get it. But ultimately, you know, the idea that we're all trying to, which the people that understand my point that agree can also attest to this, is like, we're saying that like the killers have more to do to gain their bonus compared to the survivor side, which doesn't really have to do as much. Like there are perks that do exist that require you to do more to get that value for your killer. Like, I mean, to get that value for your killer and your survivor. But the problem is that those aren't meta, really, on Survivor. Like, Survivor, they mainly run those perks that just activate for going down because it's that easy. You know what I mean? And it's so strong, especially against a low tier. So it doesn't feel good to go up against, and that's sort of my point. And that's why I was trying to sort of bring out the idea that maybe there can be more changes to these perks to make them just a little bit better, like to go up against, because it seems a lot of the time it seems like, you know, pretty unfair, especially as you're playing in like a low tier, which is mainly what I play. So like, you can obviously understand my perspective on that. Like, it's pretty terrible to go up against all the time, especially when you're not even trying to utilize strategies. Like, you're just trying to play the game normally, but you're still getting hit with a DS. It's like, what the heck did that come from? I've had that happen before too. Like, I was like just going around getting whatever hook, and then I think like I went to go pick them up, and I'm like, where did the DS come from? Like, I didn't even go after this person. I went after their teammate, and then I went like, what? But yeah, I just wanted to point that out, and yeah. So thank you guys once again for watching the video, man. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you agree with Edward here? Do you disagree? You know, what do you think? You know, do you agree with our points? Do you not? And let me know what you guys think in the comment section. And I'm just curious to just kind of see, like, you know, what's the vibes? You know what I'm saying? Create a discussion, and you know, obviously be civil. We don't have to insult each other in the comment section. We're just trying to, you know, have a debate here and just like try to learn more about the other side and things like that, and have a discussion. Okay, so with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Support with the links in the description, and I will see you guys in the next one.